exclusive urban gameplay, bro.
Yo, ever since the original release of Mario Kart 64, it's been one of the most popular kart racing franchises ever made, but that doesn't necessarily mean the game is outright best kart racer out there. After all, for anyone who played Diddy Kong Racing, you know just how good other kart racing games can be when you don't confine yourself solely to the Mario Kart franchise. In the grand scheme of things, however, which of the two is the best? Well, to determine that, there is a 5-stage battle as I've put to discover which of these two classic racing games is the better one out of the pairing.
Round 1.
Yo, starting off with Mario Kart 64 and its overall presentation and graphics, it's clear to see just how much polish the original game received. All of the characters are instantly recognizable, both from the selection process and from behind, a perspective of racing game you'll see a lot of whether you like it or not. In terms of the UI, Mario Kart 64 does come across a little bit too busy at times, but the game does an excellent job at telling you what you need to know all of the time. Then of course the gameplay is just as solid as you could imagine, and even in this day and age, Mario Kart 64 is just as strong as the day of its release. Diddy Kong Racing and its overall presentation and graphics don't come across quite as refined as Mario Kart 64, but that doesn't make it an ugly game, not when the bright and vibrant colors are brought into the mix. The gameplay is still very much playable and just as good as it once was, and to me it's just the use of the polygons are a little bit more outdated than the likes of Mario Kart 64, sadly. UI on the other hand though is a bit more spaced out and uses more of the screen around it, allowing for more of a functional UI system. Thanks to the fact that the UI is still less busy than Mario Kart 64 is definitely an improvement, something the latter games in the series eventually picked up on. Even with the improvement in mind, however, to me Mario Kart 64 does manage to win the first round when it comes to presentation and graphics.
Round 2.
Mario Kart 64 tells you all you need to know for the character selection, as there is so much to choose from in terms of the roster. Almost all the popular Super Mario Bros. Characters that have been loved over the years appear in this game, and it makes picking and choosing your favorite character an absolute breeze, as everyone has that one character they know and love in the Super Mario universe. Unfortunately, the same can't be said for Diddy Kong Racing, as the game's main cast of characters is Diddy Kong, Banjo from Banjo and Kazooie, and Conker's from Conker's Bad Fur Day. Other than those characters, there are a few others that have never really been seen before in the Diddy Kong or Donkey Kong franchise. On top of that though, there is no Donkey Kong in this game. It's understandable that Diddy Kong is meant to be the superstar of the show, but the fact that Diddy's older brother shows up in Mario Kart 64 and not Diddy Kong Racing is an obvious reason behind Mario Kart 64 winning the second round.
Round 3.
Just like many other Mario Kart games, Mario Kart 64 has a great selection of tracks for you to choose from as the player. The game has numerous tracks and courses for you to choose from, with a vast number of them being particularly memorable, such as Rainbow Road especially. With this in mind, however, a fair amount of these tracks don't quite have the same amount of detail to them as others. Diddy Kong Racing, on the other hand, may not have the famous Rainbow Road to contend with, but it does have the stronger selection of tracks on its side. All of the tracks have a nice amount of detail and effort put into them, and every single one has a nice amount of bright vibrancy to it, without any monotony getting in the way at any point. At no point during the game will you find a stage that you won't ever want to play again. It simply isn't going to happen, and that's the reason why Diddy Kong Racing to me is the winner of the third round when it comes to the selection of game stages.
Round 4.
Mario Kart 64, from the sound of things, have a very jazzy and psychedelic soundtrack to it, and while it is enjoyable, it just doesn't fit the classic Super Mario Bros. Style that you did kind of hope for. Now, there's nothing to say that this is bad, because it simply isn't, but it isn't as memorable as I personally would have liked it to be. When you do think of the Super Mario Bros. Franchise, that classic theme pops into your head, and you instantly get transported into the first level of the game without even playing it in your imagination. To me, Mario Kart 64 doesn't convey this in the slightest, and it is a real disappointment for the game, I would have to say. Diddy Kong Racing, on the other hand, is upbeat, fast, but not too much, and almost instantly gets you ready for the next race, and that's exactly what you want for a kart racing game. There's not a single poor song in this entire collection of music, and without a shadow of a doubt, crowns Diddy Kong Racing for the winner of the 4th round when it comes to the overall original soundtrack for the game.
Round 5.
Mario Kart 64 has 4 different game modes to choose from: the Grand Prix, the Time Trial, Versus Mode, and Battle Mode. While Battle Mode, Versus Mode, and Time Trial are all fun and enjoyable additions to the game, the real meat of the game to me is the Grand Prix, as a game mode we've played for hours on ends with family or friends. At the end of the day, it is simply driving karts around courses, and even though those other modes change things up somewhat, they don't do enough to warrant playing them for a very long time. Diddy Kong Racing doesn't have the same sort of extra modes that Mario Kart 64 has, but it does have a proper single player experience, one that has a story and even have some different gameplay options in comparison to Mario Kart 64. Players can enjoy the adventure mode of the game that is only single player, but it does mean that you can enjoy a kart racing game with a decent and enjoyable story. While it may not be the world's most incredibly engaging story, it is a fun thing to play every now and again. Then of course there is the usual multiplayer option where you can race your friends through any level you choose to see who is the best of the best, something that Diddy Kong Racing does vastly different, though it's through the use of different vehicles, each one playing different to the last, meaning that on some level you can play on something other than a kart, causing the whole experience to play quite uniquely. Now this is a refreshing change, and let me tell you, due to this main change in the gameplay, Diddy Kong Racing has to take the 5th round when it comes to longevity. Overall, Diddy Kong Racing won 3 out of 5 rounds, where Mario Kart 64 won 2, making Diddy Kong Racing the winner. In general, Diddy Kong Racing just has slightly more going for it and proves that Mario Kart isn't the be and end all of kart racing games. With this in mind, however, this is all kind of opinion based, and I'm sure fans of each game will have their own perspective, which will be great to see in the comment section below. I believe both of these games are great for their own reason, and at the end of the day, playing either of these games is going to leave you with a smile upon your face for a while. Anyway peeps, what did you make of this battle, and which game did you prefer over the years? As always, if you enjoyed this urban gameplay video, be sure to hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so before. And until next urban gameplay video, we definitely say peace out peeps.
Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button for more cool urban gameplay videos.